Alright, this video is going to be about how you can strip paint from an aluminum boat. As you can see on this project, I have a lot of the paint already stripped off. I've been working at it for a little bit here and there, and it does take some time to do it, but it's worth it. I'm going to get it down to bare metal and have it prepped for some new paint, new coating that I'm going to put on there. So the product that I'm using is called Citristrip. It works pretty well. It's not too bad as far as the smell goes, and it's a little bit toxic. It does say no harsh fumes on it, but you want to use it in a ventilated area, of course. Other tools that I'll be using is a little paintbrush here, just a disposable one in order to put the gel on, and then I'll be using the Putty Scraper 2000. See, it's got some holes in it. That's extra fast, high-speed scraper. A little bit of elbow grease on that. Also, got to have some of your protective equipment. Have some gloves and some glasses. And for getting around the rivets on the boat, this little wire will come in handy for getting some of the paint out of those spots. So as I've been stripping this boat, it was painted pretty well, probably using good technology back when it was painted 10-15 years ago. It looks like it has a layer of zinc chromate primer, which is kind of a yellow underneath, and then the paint that was over top of that, the white paint that you'll see us removing, that held up pretty well for what it was. Now on the sides where the sun was on it, it wasn't adhered very well at all anymore. But on the bottom where the sun wasn't at it, because this boat sat for a while, the paint actually is on there pretty well. It takes a little while of letting it sit with the stripper for that paint to release. So I'll show you how we go about this and about how much you want to put on, how long you need to leave it sit for. And of course that's going to depend on how many coats of paint you have on your boat and what kind it is. All right, so let's get into this. Okay, so here we have our Citristrip. We're going to just pour some of that out. We want to be pretty generous with this. You'll see it's going to need to actually sit and soak in for a couple hours. So we'll go ahead and pour some on there, and then we'll just spread it out. So you'll notice we put a pretty generous coat on there. Zoom in a little bit here. You can see just about how thick we put our coverage on. And you definitely want enough that it will completely soak into the paint, which will take some time, and then it'll be ready to strip off. So since we're going to let this sit for a couple hours and soak in, what we're going to do is put this plastic on so it doesn't dry out. In other words, it'll stay moist, all that paint will loosen up, and then we'll be ready to use the putty knife on it. So we have that nice and covered up now, and we've got most of the air bubbles out of there. We'll just let that sit a couple hours. I'll show you what it looks like then before we want to remove the plastic. We'll come out and check it in about 2 hours and see how it looks, see if it looks like it's ready for the plastic to peel off. It's been about an hour, so we can see some areas where it's starting to bubble, but other areas where it still needs some more time. So we'll let it sit for about another hour and then we'll come back and check it again. Alright, so now we're at about 2 hours and we can see that most of this is all bubbled. There are a few spots, but I think we'll be in good shape. Okay, so if any part of this could be considered fun, it would be this part right here. Pull the plastic back. You can see some of the paint just coming right off. And all that loose paint is just ready to scrape off. Close up here. Oh yeah, look at that. All right, so you can see some pretty intensive scraping action, especially where that didn't fully release. But you can also see, as we're looking at things here, the yellow primer underneath, and that's still adhered pretty well, like we said, on the bottom here. Now on the side, see, things definitely came off a good bit easier, but the bottom was still fairly solid. Okay. Well, now it's time to put some music on for you and for me, and let's get to work on this. give you a little close-up now on how it's looking before we do some work on the rivets. Okay, so now I'll give you a view after the rivets have all been wire brushed. Let's see, you got all those little bits of paint out from around the edges. And we are ready now for the final step of the stripping process, which is going to be a little bit of Citristrip and some shop towels. So we'll just use these. And we're going to just use a tiny bit and get the rest of the paint residue off and wipe everything down. Not too much, we'll use that on the side too. Let's see how this goes. Okay, this last shop towel is for me. Woo! And you just do that about 9 more times and you'll have yourself a clean boat ready for paint. I'll give you a close-up on how it turned out here. Woo! She's a beaut.